Hello, and welcome to the Emotional Endurance Movement. This episode is dedicated to your friend who's obsessed with avocado toast. Avocado toast, avocado toast, avocado toast, avocado toast, avocado toast, avocado toast. You know the one.
Oh, I do.
Welcome back to the Emotional Endurance Movement. We are the only mental health comedy game show genuinely curious about how you're doing. I'm Laurie Sharp-Page, your Chief Coping Officer and host. Seated next to me is our perennial contestant, our behaviorist at large, and someone who now has a real plant in their office, Crimson McDonald. I also want to introduce you, our viewer at home, the one who's watching this. You complete our survey each week, and we're so glad you're here to practice building your emotional endurance skills in this very dysregulating world. Before we get into today's games, we're going to talk about our Insight of the Week. Our Insight of the Week this week is from Lord Tennyson. "'Tis better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all." Love is our feeling of the week, and we thought this would be a great place to start because we've all heard this quote, and we've all probably nodded our head in agreement at this quote. It has a lot of depth.
This is one of my favorites because I like to use this as an excuse to not have pets. Because I'm like, that's a love that I'd rather not love and lose because it's so painful and you can opt out of it. But I have a pet.
You only have one pet now, but there was a time when you had two pets.
Yeah, but then I had to watch him die. So I doubled down on the whole, I would rather just not lose.
So you got yourself the cutest golden retriever.
Well, that's because I'm a nice wife. But I'm in total love, and when I lose her, I'm going to be so mad at everyone that made me get her.
So has it been better to have loved Scout than have not loved Scout?
I haven't lost her yet. She's amazing. I can't imagine life without her.
Yeah.
But there's going to be life without her.
Yeah. We lost our big dog. It's been about a year and a half now.
That's right.
And I remember she was older and we ended up having to put her down. But part of me was telling her, you can go whenever you need to go. We're going to be okay. She was a very protective dog. And I realized that part of my resistance to it all was just knowing the grief that would come.
Yeah.
And you're right. Love is nuanced. We spend a lot of time talking about the rainbows and butterflies of love, but love also means that there is now something so meaningful in your life that you worry about the potential of losing it or not having it or its well-being in the case of our furry loved ones. So I get it, but this is a great example of you not taking your own advice.
Oh, I mean, there's plenty of examples of that. But it's true. This is a prolific quote because it's something I genuinely do think of frequently because love is one of the most painful emotions that there is when you fear loss.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people fear loss so much that love doesn't feel safe, right? Just the idea of love in itself is dysregulating. And we talk a lot about falling in love, but we don't often talk about the double-edged sword of the pain of being in love that goes along with it, that you want to protect this person, place, or thing and keep it exactly as it is today, knowing that is a fool's errand in this world of ever-changing chaos. Even with that pain, love is still totally worth it. That's
absolutely. And I think for any parent, this is such a dynamic that it is a very hard struggle at times. The thought of losing your kids, it's just beyond. So yeah, love is not for the faint of hearts, right? You have to accept the duality of love. And I think Tennyson captures that duality well in this quote.
And you said something about kids a minute ago, and I saw myself in the video get triggered, which is fun. The truth is that it is very scary as a parent to open yourself up to that sort of vulnerability. Part of what we're going to talk about today is vulnerability and how it plays into love. Let's get into our emotional weather report for the week, where Crimson is going to take the wheel and we're going to zoom out a little bit and ask what is going on in the emotional climate for the emotional endurance movement this week. Are we talking sunny with scattered dopamine, high pressure systems of connection, or unexpected storms of yearning rolling through at 2:17 a.m.? Let's take a second and check out our emotional weather report.
Laurie, thank you for turning it over to me to do the emotional weather report. Now, keep in mind that this is just getting a pulse on how we felt in the last week. This week, we're around 270 members strong. That means we have 270 people actively paying attention to the regulation. And if they're paying attention, all of us benefit. So that matters. So let's take a look at how we're feeling. Overall, how are we showing up? Well, folks, it looks like we're showing up about 54% of the time feeling regulated. Now, to be honest, this is one of the lowest scores we've seen since we've started monitoring this more dysregulated space. But we're not at the extreme. And remember, regulation is never going to be 100%. In fact, the survey research nerds and us know that when people are reporting around 7 and 8 on a 10-point scale, they're feeling pretty good. So I think Laurie and I would love to see us at that 70, 80% mark. But let's look into why we're showing up dysregulated, and most of all, where. Where are we showing up dysregulated? Not shocking, at work. We're struggling staying regulated in the workplace. And honestly, that seems correct. At this point in time, we're kind of feeling the demand hit us and we're losing time every day. January was this great month to start new and be organized. And I'm guessing, like most of America, we feel like we're falling behind. Well, I don't know about you, Laurie, but here in Fort Thomas, Kentucky, we are under about 1.5 feet of snow, along with 200 million Americans. That means family dynamics are challenging, especially for caretakers. So stay strong. If you look at the tracking of the flu, the great flu epidemic going on in America right now, a lot of us are actually literally sick. So let's be real. Health should be here because a lot of families are managing sick family members right now. But through the dysregulation, how are we coping? We would expect we're coping worse when we're less regulated, and that's what we're seeing. This only dropped a little bit, but it's on trend with seeing our dysregulation is definitely trending with lower coping effectiveness. This is the lowest we've seen so far. People are trying. Just remember, tools aren't restoring regulation. We need to get better tools and more equipped to deal with our coping. Honestly, Laurie, I don't know about you, but when I see this, I think there's also something to say about the capacity problem. We have less capacity to really cope effectively. But let's not be doom and gloom. Where are we coping well? What's filling our cup? Our home. We're contained during the winter. There's something nice about not being able to get out, unless you're in my school district where your kids have to get out, but none of the adults are. So containment during a winter storm, we are feeling regulation at home. We are also feeling it when we get to be alone. And that's not surprising if you are a caretaker or have young children. Getting away from them after being bunkered down for a week is really nice. I thought it was interesting that relationships came up on this one because I think it's really a lesson from COVID that we know how to maintain relationships virtually. And we're using them to fill our cup. So good for you. Other popped up, and I got to be honest, I think we're going to leave this one to the audience to guess because it's a snowstorm. People would be doing crazy things. But if you guys want to comment below, feel free to do so about what your other was this week that filled your cup. So, Laurie, that leads us to the look ahead. So what can we expect? We have our advisory where we are looking at what are we carrying, what's our capacity, how are we focusing, and what we can expect. So right now, February, we're carrying a heavy load, folks. We are in the peak of winter blues. We are probably at a deficiency with our vitamin D. We are sick of being under a foot of snow. And if you're where we are, it hasn't gotten over 10 degrees in like 6 days. We're carrying a lot of that winter blues. In terms of capacity, we're seeing our work demands are higher than our capacity to deal with them. So our coping effectiveness is slipping as a result. It's hard to focus when our reserves are low, and it's easy to get distracted when we are basically dysregulated and hanging on a fine thread. No shame in it. The real goal here is to think about what we could be doing to get those focusing skills back online, because if we're able to focus, we get more done. That builds our self-efficacy by doing that. It lifts all of our metrics, and we will see better effective coping and higher regulation. So our warning is if we're seeing this, and that means the people around you are dysregulated. Our community is dysregulated. It probably means the people around them are dysregulated, which means watch out, guys. It spreads like the flu. So it's in our community. Watch out and stay strong in being regulated and refuel.
Thank you, Crimson. Yeah, I can see these themes playing out. It's been an interesting week. I am now on to day 7 of being trapped in this house with my family.
My school district went for it because they didn't want to be
you guys have been back in school since Tuesday. My kids have no school this week. My mom's art class got canceled. I did my doctor's appointment virtually. We had to dig our car out, which was an experience. I mean, I could go. There's been some different challenges this week, but I've stayed pretty regulated, although my kids have been fighting a lot. I've seen more dysregulation with them, and I've had to show up and shut it down a few times, which can look like dysregulation, but I've kind of been doing this like exploration with myself of understanding that being firm, clear, and directive in those moments, even if I have to increase my tone, is not inherently dysregulation, even though people around me may think it is. A lot of moms struggle with this. I'm not mad. I'm just trying to like make the expectations clear and the behavior work the way it needs to work. And everyone else is like, oh my gosh, do you need to go take a minute? And you're like, no, this is not dysregulation. This is me being clear and direct and having to get the environment to respond back to me. Does that make any sense? Or am I out here on an island alone going a little snow crazy?
No, I think you're with, like I said, 200 million Americans right now. So you're far from alone.
Absolutely. But we're hanging in there. And I think we got the car out. It's chilling enough that tomorrow I'm going to try and take them to the trampoline park and give everyone a treat. You know what I mean? Just like jump it out, ladies.
Yeah, I'm on the reverse where my kids are like, you don't have to go out. And I don't know if you saw on my personal TikTok page, I try to make this like inspirational, like we can push through hard things. Just my daughter walking literally next door. Like there is no way to get her to school without some kind of trudge through feet of snow. And I mean, I got to send her to school. And I posted it with some inspirational thing, and people were like, child abuse. Did you have to get up and drive your kid to school as if I have a garage? Like, show your privilege. I'm sorry, I don't have a garage. I have a huge driveway that's not shoveled.
But walking next door to get in your neighbor's car?
Yes.
School? Yes. Yeah.
I think CPS is going to be called on me, though. But the emotional forecast for the week is tied closely and correlated with the weather forecast of the week.
I would agree. This is the week where the weather and the emotional weather are colliding.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for that report. All right, we are going to move into a message from our feeling of the week, which is it's love, y'all. It's love. Deep down in your bones. Love. Our feeling of the week is love. And not just romantic love. I know with Valentine's Day coming up, we all are kind of obsessed about romantic love. We're talking about creative love, friendship love, purpose love, culture love, the love you feel when the barista remembers your order. The love is what happens when safety meets closeness and your nervous system decides, I want to stay here for a minute. It widens your attention, it softens your posture, it lowers the volume of your threat detector because love is one of the emotional states that actually expands your capacity. You think better, you risk smarter, you recover faster, and yes, it also makes you send texts that you will reread later because love's a lot of different things. Love is the joy and the purpose and the meaning behind many of our relationships. And it's also the fear that keeps us up at night thinking about losing those things. Love is the idea that we can find amazing moments, things, purposes in our life and platform them, put action and time towards them, and refine them into something with a deeper meaning. Love is all around us. And many people would say that love is the ultimate meaning in life. Dynamic, ever changing, always finding a way to adapt in challenging circumstances, and always there, even when you can't easily see it. Love is an inspiring emotion, one that many of us aspire to be in constantly, but it is still just an emotion, transient in its state, and one that surprisingly you have to cope with to get to the best of it. And that's why our coping skill this week is vulnerability, because love asks things of us. It asks us to show up in ways that require us to be seen, to be vulnerable, to be engaged. And that can be a tall order when we don't necessarily feel a lot of love, support, or psychological safety in our lives. And that's why it's so important that we all learn to love ourselves, to love those that we're around, and to love the potential of creating a world with more hope, more optimism, more resilience, more efficacy, and yes, even more effective coping. I love that I get to be here and do this and give this message. And it's also incredibly vulnerable to do. Both are true. And I think it's when we understand the duality of love, when we really lean into it, that we can most unlock its value. And that's all from this week's feeling of the week. Love.
Elizabeth Taylor. Sorry. You don't get the joke because you don't listen to Taylor Swift anymore.
I'm sorry. I keep disappointing
so-
you. You've
I
run this by
know.
me like 3 or 4 times, and I just do not.
I
I
thought
have
at least
no
for
idea.
this week's episode, you would do a 3-minute assignment, Laurie.
You never gave me the how am I supposed to do the assignment? So this is part of love. This is part of friendship love, is when you're so close that you can assume that the other person can read your mind. And unfortunately,
Absolutely.
I have many skills, mind reader, particularly to you in the wild, wild west of your minds. I don't have that skill. So what was the assignment that I was supposed to do that you neglected to tell me about?
Well, so when I think of the word love, I think of Elizabeth Taylor. And then Taylor Swift on her new album, she wrote a song called Elizabeth Taylor. And Elizabeth Taylor is like the epitome of the love of falling in love. I don't know. Like, I just, there's something romantic about Elizabeth Taylor. I mean, not only
And
was
her,
she
like,
just glamorous.
8 marriages, 9 marriages, was it?
I mean, it was just like never ending. I think she remarried. And even at the end of her life, she was like, who cares? I loved falling in love.
Yeah.
And once I was done
And
falling in
jewelry.
love, I moved on.
Her jewelry collection. Remember that? Remember when they
Oh,
like
diamonds.
oh my gosh.
I know.
Gosh,
But I do think Elizabeth Taylor represents a concept of love that is less traditional, right? We think of it as you fall in love, you get married, or friendships, but there is something about loving, falling in love. And I have someone very close to me who I remember we met in birthing class, and she was married and she was about to have her first kid, and her husband, they're married, was a lot older. I remember thinking, what are you going to do? Like, he's older than you, so your time on this planet is going to be longer. And she laughed at me and thought I was so irrational for assuming I would only have one love in my life, even with the age. She was like, your husband could drop dead and you could have another love. And what's wrong with love? And she went on to get divorced, and she's had several, I wouldn't say serious in the traditional sense, but committed relationships. And she's kind of Elizabeth Tayloring it. She is loving, falling in love. And she told me once her biggest love affair is the love she has for herself. And I think that's an aspirational place to be. Like, she
I
loves
like that.
herself. I
will
know, don't you?
borrow that. That is
Yes,
good.
loving your biggest love affair being your love for yourself should be like everyone's goal. And
Yeah.
I will be honest, she was genuine, and it wasn't arrogant, it wasn't cocky, it was genuine.
I love it. No, I love it. I agree. I think love comes in so many different formats, and we as a culture have really idealized this one very heteronormative view of what
Mm.
love and marriage is. And it's just not that simple ever. Even for people who are in relationships that it looks like that. It's just not that simple. Love is dynamic. It's changing. I totally agree. And now I want to listen to this Taylor Swift song.
Elizabeth Taylor, you think it's forever. One would never bet to have fun.
If you keep doing that, I'm going to take clips of you singing and put it on the
Oh,
internet.
I mean, if it comes naturally, it's fine.
Our first game, Show and Tell, Weird Love Edition. This is where we confess something we love that makes no sense to anyone else. And it's not because it's impressive or we need validation. It's just because it's weird and we're going to share it. So, with that being said, I'm going to let Crimson go first.
As those that know me know, I am a history nerd and a political science nerd. What I'm bringing today is my TJ. This is Thomas Jefferson. I acquired him from the great Monticello estate when I visited it when I was like, I don't know, 18, 19, something like that. And so, yeah, my thing is democracy, not just TJ. He's just representative of it. I got to be honest, democracy is something that I love, and not just any democracy, American democracy. I was 11 years old. I saw the US Constitution in DC, and I knew in that moment that that piece of paper was something I was going to commit my life to. And I really don't know why, but it was a instinctual gut feeling. And this just validates that I'm a nerd. Why an 11-year-old was inspired by a piece of paper is beyond me. But there was something about the resilience and endurance of the founding fathers and the bravery and courage it took. So I just grew up believing in the principles behind it. And I know this country and our democracy is not perfect. I will be the first to say that. But I've committed my life to serving it and to advocate for the values instilled in that document. And so right now is a really hard time for us nerds. I'm talking from a truly historical standpoint for people that are nerdy like me. So when you're a nerd like me, it means a lot. I have found myself having to reorient my love for democracy and my understanding of it. It does remind me of the I wish I had never loved at all, because it hurts watching something you love get eroded and really feeling hopeless and understanding how to rebuild it. So, like Thomas Jefferson, our Constitution and our democracy has its flaws, but I really, really love American democracy. That's my nerdy, weird love, and I'm sticking with it.
I love that about you. I've always loved that about you. There's a grief right now. I hear attacks on American democracy, and I see them with my own eyeballs every single day. It really is breaking my heart in a way that's hard to ignore. It's also weird to talk about. I feel like it's a silly thing to say, but things are going on with my girl America, and I don't know how to help her.
Right.
And I want to help her. It's very important to my sense of who I am as an American and the values that I know we were all taught. That's what's so strange. These values that have truly been ingrained in us, sometimes in not so healthy or good ways, are really being thrown out the window, and it's very confusing emotionally. And I don't know that it's necessarily a time to talk about feelings too much. It's a time of action. And I feel similarly that something I love is going through some type of, at best, transition, at worst, straight up attack. And it feels weird to feel that way over a political modality. I mean, this is where this whole long rant is going.
Well, what's funny is people like me have cared about it for so long, and so it's weird for me to not be the nerd anymore. A lot of people are starting to care, and I say this with no shame. It's hard to wrap your head around losing what we had, Obviously, I had a lot of academic training and education that drove a lot of my motivation, but this is a perfect way to capture how sometimes love requires action. And it can be a verb too. I think what we're seeing right now is a lot of Americans uniting regardless of politics. They're uniting and they're acting out of love. And I think there is something extremely powerful that what we're seeing now versus political opposition 8 years ago is that it's driven from love of democracy, love of our neighbors, and not hate of power and hate of the institution. It shows the power of love because I know a lot of people are not political, are being called to action, not for their love of the Democrats, not for their love of Republicans, not for their love of the president, but for their love of democracy and the norms that we were raised to respect. And it really, I think we just thought that they were built in and settled. And we're learning that to love our country is an action word. And maybe we weren't given it enough love. And now we are. And that's something that there's a resilience in that that's worth loving too.
There's nothing like grief to teach us about love.
Right?
I wonder if we're going to be able to name for some of our viewers this week that grief that is playing out as we see these institutions and values of life, like you said, on a fundamental level, be threatened like this.
Yep.
So thank you very much for that. It was really meaningful.
Sorry to get all heavy on you.
Mine's a little heavy.
Oh,
Told her
fun.
that I was going to do cottage cheese with lemon pepper seasoning.
I was promised cottage cheese with lemon pepper seasoning.
Well, okay, I'm going to give everybody quick recipe mix in. If you need a protein-rich snack and you don't want to just eat cottage cheese, put some lemon pepper seasoning on it or some everything bagel seasoning or some avocado toast seasoning, and it really spices it up quite well.
Ooh, avocado toast seasoning. I just went to Trader Joe's and got the everything bagel. But
Yeah.
tell me about the avocado toast. Where do you get
So
that?
I found it randomly. It was like a 2-for-1 sale. Got it. Interesting.
Where?
It's got some of the crunchies of like the everything bagel in there. It's got some of that texture, but it's also got a little bit of red pepper flake. I think I prefer the everything bagel as the topping for avocado choice. I think that's my preference for avocado toast, but the avocado toast topping is also quite good.
Can we say avocado toast like 5 more times? We're such
Avocado
millennials.
toast.
Your turn.
Okay, so for my show and tell, I'm not bringing a tangible item this week. I am bringing our YouTube statistics.
Oh, no. Don't make me sad, Laurie.
This isn't about you.
Don't show the
It's about
true
me.
reality.
So our YouTube subscribers. Hey, we've grown our YouTube subscribers almost like 2,600% points over the last month. We are growing. 92
trying.
members here. The reason why this is my show and tell is because I have a weird love of video editing. It's a skill set that I learned in my early 20s, and I really find it to be a great medium for my other great creative love, which is comedy. We've been making content for the movement for about a year now. The last couple months, we've been way more targeted in making content. And I'm really proud of myself because this has been incredibly vulnerable. And I know it has been for you too, Crimson. I have this deep love for doing it. And the reason why I know I have a deep love for doing it is because now that I am practicing showing up and being seen, which is still hard, that's still very vulnerable for me, I am getting more resilient to the fact that nobody seems to care about our content. It's the important part. Here's the weird love part of it. I still love doing it. I still love doing it. I'm out here making this art. And I am going to call it art because I am the director of this dang thing. And it is art.
It is.
We got likes. We got some follows. We got something out there that's growing. We've got 272 people now across our network who are willingly and lovingly in the movement, and they all want you to join too. You should definitely join.
And just a pause. To all my friends out there that aren't listening to this, you aren't included in that count because apparently I can't even get you to subscribe.
It is fun when you have your network being like, go you, and you're like, you could go to YouTube and you could join my network, and they're like, oh, well, maybe my kids could.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because I'm having fun trying to know myself creatively more in the last month. I've been doing these weird characters. I don't know. They're just fun. We have a somewhat serious topic and mental health. You know how we feel about the fact that mental health these days is pretty much just doom, gloom, like ain't never going to get better. Get over it. Move on. Forget about mental health. And we think that you can have some fun with it and find a way to take care of yourself without just subscribing to toxic cycles of burnout.
But I appreciate this because I do think that there is vulnerability in what you brought to the table today. A lot of people out there creating content, and it's great. A lot of them are coming to the table with, this is my experience and I was successful. And I think we're coming to the table as we're one of you.
One of you.
Laurie, you are not a video editor. You are a psychotherapist and now a chief coping officer. And you are stretching yourself to make these videos. So kudos to you and being vulnerable enough to put it out there. It's hard. We got 69 people in 28 days, and it ain't like we're paying anyone for this. There's a
Well,
lot to be
so
proud of.
there's one additional piece to this, which is that I, as a psychotherapist, look, Crimson's known me since before I became a clinician. I have a big personality. I'm loud. I'm funny. I like to think, at least I make myself laugh. And part of becoming a therapist is you have to learn to make yourself really small and palatable. So when people tell you things, you don't have this look on your face. I've gotten really good at minimizing myself and the way my personality comes out. It has been hard to unlearn that.
Yeah.
And I think I'm unlearning that here. And part of the reason I know that I'm unlearning it here is because when we get comments like, what the F is this? Or people being angry at my character work, or honestly just dislikes. Like we'll get video where it's like, we have 0 likes and 2 dislikes.
Yeah.
Like we are turning people off. And I think that's a sign that we don't want people to like it. We do get likes too, but being more comfortable with that happening is a sign that my personality is coming back to the table. And that's what I want artistically out of this. I want this to be fun and something I love to do because it's a form of creative expression. Nobody sits us down and says we have to make or long video podcast. In fact, nobody's really asked.
And the stats would say they aren't really. It's not if you build it, they come. That doesn't work in content.
But we're here. People are isolated. They don't have these conversations. They don't know how to. We're trying to make something engaging and fun to make it less of a chore and more something you get to do. The better relationship you have with your mental health, the more love you're going to be able to have for yourself. If you have a combative relationship with your mental health, it's hard to love yourself. I know that from professional experience of walking that with a lot of clients, but also from personal experience.
Yeah.
And I love that I'm showing up this way. And yes, this is really vulnerable. And it's okay. I feel supported and safe enough to do so. And that's really a freaking privilege. And so I'm grateful for it. I'm thankful for it. And that is my weird show and tell for the week. My weird love show and tell, video editing.
Good job, Lori. I'm going to give you 500 points for that.
Thank you, Crimson. I'm going to give you 500 points for taking us through naming a lemon that I think is in the room right now, which is that real stuff is happening. And we got to find ways to talk about it and deal with it. Now it's time for a word for our skill of the week, vulnerability. Vulnerability is our coping skill this week because we need to talk about it. A lot of people think that vulnerability is just oversharing or trauma dumping in the group chat. But vulnerability is not necessarily so extreme. It's letting something real about you be seen without knowing with certainty how it'll land. It's posting the draft. It's sending the risky text. It's admitting you care first. It's neurologically uncertain. And your brain hates that. And it's also how connection forms. Love without vulnerability is admiration from behind glass, lonely, isolated, disengaged. When you let yourself be seen, your nervous system learns, I can survive this. I can exist in uncertain territory. I can build my capacity to tolerate the natural vulnerability of love, of life, of making something better when you leave it than when you found it. Vulnerability is having belief in being able to exist authentically, being safe to do so, and getting good results from it. And vulnerability is often, for some people, in certain circumstances. So if you're able to be vulnerable with even small pieces of your life in certain situations with certain people, lean into that, because the more you practice that, the more resilient you'll become to it, and the more deeply you can invest in the loves that you have all around you. And that's all from this week's coping skill of the week. Vulnerability is funny in that it's active.
It's constant.
Do you ever get vulnerability hangovers?
Yes. Yes, I get vulnerability hangovers. They are less and less common as I get older. And I think, this is something we've talked about before. I have always had a very different way of showing up in the world. I am fortunate to have never had the people pleaser activation. And so I feel like I had never had words for how I was showing up, and I felt like very alone in showing up as a vulnerable person. And through especially my 20s, I realized that that level of like bringing your own wall down and assuming others have their walls down puts them in a very defensive state. And it can be a very weird dynamic. And I never really knew why I had that like tension with people in social settings of like why are they reacting to me? Because I'm not saying something hyperbolic. I'm not saying something that should, but what I was doing was saying something vulnerable. And I think it's new for us to go to vulnerable places in a social setting openly, but I've been doing it for all of my adulthood, and there's consequences to it. But I will say there are consequences to vulnerability, but as of the last, I would say 5 to 10 years, there are less consequences to it. And I would even argue that we're seeing a swing to lacking vulnerability as a flaw now versus it being a superpower. I feel like it's expected and really, really wanted. People want vulnerable people.
Now we're going to play our next game, vulnerability ranking.
I have compiled 10 statements. Picture you saying them and then rank them, with one being the most vulnerably like raw that you would feel, like that it would just, the discomfort would be like absolutely painful, to the least painful of the vulnerable statements. You're going to rank them 1 to 10, most vulnerable to least, and I'm going to do the same. And then we're going to compare the results and show, I don't know, whether we're similar in vulnerability or very different. I am really good at what I do. I don't feel okay. I need help. I feel lonely. I'm proud of myself. I'm scared I'm not enough. I want something more, even though my life looks fine. I was wrong. I don't know what to do next. And I love this. And I'm afraid of losing it.
I'm really good at what I do. Yeah, I would say that's like a 7 out of 10 for me. I can say that pretty easily. In certain settings, it's less easy, but I'm pretty confident in a statement like that. I don't feel okay right now. That has to be a 10. That's my job, is to tell people it's okay to not be okay. I have gotten well versed with that one. Asking for help, I'm an 8. A big part of how I'm raising my kids is to ask for help. I feel lonely is a harder one. And I actually recently expressed that to Crimson. That was interesting to see pop up, because I was like, oh, I know. That's like a 3 or 4, because it was hard to say out loud. You helped me, Crimson, to think about the fact that I have young kids and I've been stuck at home being a mom, and I'm getting back out into the world, making new friends. I've done a lot of work around that. I'm scared I'm not enough. I think we all struggle with that. I want something more. I'm able to do that. I was wrong. I've been working on that. I'm not perfect. When you are in a conflict and you realize like how much freedom can just come when you're like, yeah, you're right, I was wrong. Like it almost like completely just like it shifts the situation fast. The right tool all the time. But my life has gotten a lot easier when I've just been able to be like, you're right, I messed up. Even the other person messed up. You're right, I messed up. Let's talk about how I messed up and how I'm going to do it differently. Invite them to do the same. Mixed bag response on that. But, I think it's good. I don't know what to do next. Hello, life. I love this and I'm afraid to lose it because I have lost people I really love. It's been horrible to lose them and our dogs and stuff like we started talking about today. I know in my bones how important it is to express when we love somebody and that we don't want to lose them. Crimson, I want to hear about yours.
I'm really good at what I do. Oh my God. I am so uncomfortable talking about myself or in any way puffing my feathers. It's stupid because I am really good at certain things and I'm learning how to be okay with that. Okay. It's hard to like yourself. I'm learning though. Most people don't care. I need help. I'm getting better. Yesterday, I had a situation where I asked for help and it solved it instantly. I think I'm building up efficacy there. I feel lonely. I'm open with saying that I can sit in that discomfort. But I'll be honest, I'm very fortunate. I'm rarely lonely. And I just got out of your phase of life, Laurie. So I went through a very lonely phase and I learned how to talk about it because it's important to mental health and longevity. I'm proud of myself. I'm really good at what I do. I'm getting there. I'm getting better at it. But that makes me extremely uncomfortable, that level of vulnerability. I'm scared I'm not enough. I'm getting better at that one too. I feel like 40 comes with a lot of really bad things, but these are the things that if you would have asked me 5 years ago would be very different. I want something more. That one's hard to say because I feel like I have a lot and I shouldn't say. I was wrong. Like you, Laurie, I've always been good at this because I was a parentified child and I learned that taking accountability and stopping the finger pointing ends the chaos. To your point, I don't know if it's always the right way to approach a situation, but I have found that just saying I'm wrong and taking accountability can stop chaos. So I've gotten really good at that. I don't say that with arrogance. I say that with humility. I don't know what to do next. I really don't. I'm exhausted of people asking. I'm exhausted of trying to forecast what's next. No discomfort with that. I'm comfortable with my lack of knowledge. I love this and I'm afraid to lose it. People know that I'm afraid to lose it. I say it a lot, but probably not enough. I'm probably not as comfortable as I should be.
It's vulnerable.
It
It
is.
just is, right?
Well
Well, let's
said.
get us both together and see where there was some overlap. Some big differences. I'm really good at what I do. I'm not totally surprised to see that difference in some things.
Well, it's all one of the things I've always loved about you, Laurie, is that you say it. It's something I've admired about you. It's the way you conduct yourself. It's not like you say it, but it's confidence.
Yeah, we can see differences in how we talk about loneliness.
Yeah. I was wrong. That's a good business partner match.
Yeah, you're right.
Except when
Biggest
something
winner
bad
here.
happens,
Yeah.
it's going to be like, I was wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong.
Weren't we all wrong?
We were all wrong. That's a good accountability structure. I'm happy to see that.
Sure. All right, that was fine. Crimson, I'm going to give you another 511 points extra for being vulnerable in the fact that you talked about yourself while you talked about being vulnerable about talking about yourself.
Sure. Laurie, I'm going to give you 500 points because I know this game was confusing and you gave it your all.
That's all for this week's episode of the Emotional Endurance Movement. If you loved our content, make sure to like and follow and subscribe to make us have more than 92 followers. We've been stuck at 92 followers on YouTube for a few days. So make my dreams come true. If this episode brought up some feelings for you, well, that's good because now is the time to attend to them. Make sure to be compassionate with yourself and remember that it's not just you and you don't have to do it alone. You can grow more capacity when you just practice being vulnerable and loving yourself, the people around you, and the world that we can all create together.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. There's a movement here. We know that there are people ready to show up resilient and regulated. Thank you for joining us at the Emotional Endurance Movement and for taking another step to showing up regulated. We hope that this gave you a little bit of humor in the reality that life isn't getting easier, but maybe we'll get better at it.
We'll see you next week on the Emotional Endurance Movement. Bring your feelings and we'll bring the games. Bye.
Peace out.